You're a maniac, by the way. You're like a total fucking mad scientist.
This could change the game.
Fuck this guy.
Oops. Yeah. Oops.
Hey guys, JB here, the Wolf of Wall Street in the Wolf's Den. I have a really special guest on today, and it's not my Labrador who's coming behind me here because he's awesome too, but this is a really special guest, someone that is a world-class athlete. I mean, a real world-class athlete. He won the U.S. Open last year and almost won this year. He was on the way, leading on the leaderboard in the back nine of Torrey Pines, and then he had some trouble, a couple of bad shots, and that's golf, right? I'm talking to none other than Bryson DeChambeau, who is not your typical golfer, by the way. Not only is he hugely talented, but he's also into physics, and he's redesigned his golf clubs, cut down the shafts, and all the stuff that's controversial that has helped him, in his own words, get an edge, because he said growing up he wasn't always the best, and he was always looking for a legal way to get an edge. And I think there's really a lot of lessons here in life and in business. And then at the end of this podcast, he actually gives me a golf lesson online, which is unbelievable. So everybody, I want you to really stay tuned here. We got a quick word from our sponsors, and then we're going to hear from Bryson DeChambeau, who is unbelievable. All right, the biggest concern for small businesses right now, HR. You know that. It's costly, time-consuming, complicated. And did I mention costly for the second time? Here's your answer. Ready? Bambi. It's an HR agency created specifically for small businesses like yours. You'll be matched to your own dedicated HR manager to customize policies to fit your business. And they'll help you manage your employees. And if you thought this service would be expensive, you're wrong. Bambi services are only $99 per month. That's it. I know you didn't start your business because you wanted to spend time on HR compliance. No one does, right? Do yourself a favor and join Bambi's growing list of small business owners who have made the best HR decision of their lives. It's easy. Go to Bambi.com/wolf right now to schedule your free HR audit. That's Bambi.com/wolf, spelled BAM to the BEE.com/wolf. Bryson, number one, I'm a huge fan. I was playing golf on Sunday, right? I texted you before. I DM'd you right before. I DM'd you right before. I was like, wow, this guy's got nerves of steel. He DM'd me back right before he got in the on the tee box, and I remember you were ahead, and I stopped playing, all right, and on the ninth hole because I wanted to watch the rest of the U.S. Open. Then you lost. That's okay. You win, you lose, right? But here's what really freaks me out about golf. I'm a tennis player too. And you look at tennis, and the same people dominate the sport. Like, they win every single time after time after time. Like, I remember when I'm a huge Federer fan, right? He was like 95-4, never lose. Like, you always know who's going to win in tennis. Yet in golf, it's just, even when Tiger was the most dominant he ever was, he lost far more than he would win. What is it about golf that it doesn't, like, it's really weird. Like, why is that you can't dominate the sport?
So statistically speaking, you've got 150 players you're going against, whereas each day you're going against one guy. That's one thing. Two, there's a lot more variables at play. For example, if rain comes about, some players are out. If wind, is blowing, some players don't play well. If the greens are rolling a certain way, some players don't play well. So there's a lot of factors included in it. And unfortunately, it's just the way the cookie crumbles. It's one of those things that nobody truly can control every factor. And, when you're swinging the golf club at 120 miles an hour, well, for me, 130 miles an hour, you just don't know what's going to happen sometimes. We don't understand the physics that go on, between the golf ball and the golf club sometimes. So there's a lot that goes on that people don't realize that I think.
Chaos, almost a chaos factor to the whole thing. Chaos math involved.
1,000%.
Yeah, so you hit a good shot. Like, I know from my own amateur shitty level, like, I'll hit a shot sometimes. I'm like, bam, 250 down the middle, and I can't find the fucking ball. I'm like, where'd the ball go? I'm like, wait a second. Did it hit a hill and rolled off, and then it got sucked up into, you always find your balls, and I can't find my ball. I'm like, I don't get it. So it's like there's almost this randomness involved in it that you simply can't control, right?
You could hit a golf ball straight into the middle of the air, right down the middle of the fairway, and the wind starts gusting, and it pushes it over to the right center, it bounces in the right center of the fairway and goes into the rough. I mean, you just literally just can't control it. It's something that's one of the most frustrating games in the world, and one that, I chose because it was the most difficult personally. And it's one that I wanted to get close to perfecting, but obviously never did. I never probably will.
So like this idea that like you just kind of knew that Federer and that Nadal or Djokovic would win on the French Open, and there's just no way, right? So what happened? I guess it's just like is it that one bad? I guess with tennis, it's like almost like if you blow up in if you're one bad game, it ends and it's over, and it doesn't. Right. It's almost like the scoring. Is it somewhere the way golf is kept scoring? Like if you actually had a different type of contest with golfers, is there a way for golf to be played differently that the best player would always win, or no? There is no methodology or scoring system that would allow the best player to almost pretty much win most weekends. You understand what I'm getting at?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if there's a way to make it to where the best player always wins. You'd have to probably be doing a shotgun start, or you'd have to be doing a match play format where you do 2 or 3 matches with the guy, and whoever beats him in those 2 or 3 matches, then you move on. That's one way to do it, but that would take weeks to finish a tournament.
And it's a different game. We love the game, and we love golf the way it is, right? Because it's an awesome game, right?
Right.
One of the things I first heard when I started playing golf, and I started playing very late in life. I started playing in my 20s, and I heard like golf is like a microcosm for life. It's like everything that happens in life happens on the golf course. You think that's true?
I absolutely think it's true. There's so many times out there where you hit a perfect shot, right? Everything's going great. You're just killing it, and you land into a divot. And you've got a sand-filled divot that you just can't hit out of. It's deep down there. It's an impossible lie in the middle of the fairway. So life's going to throw you curveballs, right? And they do it all the time. They did it to me last week. And, I've been fortunate enough to win enough times to know how to win and continue to keep winning. But last week just wasn't my week. The last 9 holes, I hit a couple bad drives that got into some bad places. And, I reaped the consequences, unfortunately. And that's just one of those things in life. You're just going to have to deal with it, brush it off your shoulder, and keep walking forward with your head high.
So I think I always like what I teach in my stuff, like with business and success, is like, we live in a world where shit happens, and sometimes, through no fault of your own. Like you're walking down the street, you're doing everything right, and bam, you get hit between the eyes with a lump of shit, and like it's no fault. But that's when people typically will start telling themselves a story about, why they can't get what they want. They end up falling into this narrative that they're out of control. So the idea in golf is that, listen, shit's gonna happen, right? And you have to learn how to just simply rise above it. You can't win every single time, but you keep moving forward, right? Having great resolve and persistence and dedication to keep moving forward is the key to golf and life, I think. I was watching that one drive. So I remember I think which hole was it when you stood up to the tee box, right? And you fucking wait. I mean, you took a swing at you don't hold back, right? So that's no. It was when we almost your back foot almost came. Is that a rarity where your back foot you slipped on this right, you slipped. I saw that 13, right? And you hit the ship, but the ball pulled to the left, I think, right? No, it went over to the right pretty far, unfortunately. To the right. Okay, right. Bad lie. Into bad lie, right? So like in that sort of situation, like so you're at that hole, and you were like I think 1 stroke back or something at that point, maybe right? You were close, and then you hit a shot like that. Right? You hit a shot like that. So like, what's going through your mind? Like, how do you like? Because one of the big things I believe in is that, and I know you're a physics guy. I want to get into the whole physics of life and golf and everything. But I'm a big believer that, like, like we always, there's 2 sides to every coin. Like we live in a world of duality. There's the inner game of success. Sure. There's the outer game of success. So in anything you do, there's always the inner world. Like golf is your mindset, your ability to manage your emotions, your state, right? And then you have the your outer world, which is your skills that you practice every day. And how you make your swing, but also it all starts up here, right? So you're at the tee box, and like there's massive pressure on you, or do you not feel the pressure? How do you deal with that? Is it you feeling pressure, or you say, you know what, it is what it like? What you're like, it just doesn't really matter because I have to make the swing anyway. How do you deal with that? Yeah, I've been in the scenario enough times where I don't get as nervous anymore. The first time I ever played a PGA Tour event, it was the most nervous moment in my entire life. Because I didn't know what was going to happen. What was I going to duck hook it? Was I going to way right? You never know. But I striped it down the middle of the fairway, being super nervous. And in that moment, I knew I could do it under pressure. There's been numerous other instances where I went and won the U.S. Amateur, NCAA. Just small moments where I was super nervous,
and I conquered that. And it was almost like more of a willpower. I said, I'm not going to let it control me. I'm going to rise above it. And that's essentially what I was able to do in those key moments. Last week, I was feeling the same way. I wasn't really actually nervous. If anything, I won the tournament last year, feeling really good, pretty good about my game. If anything, I was more uncomfortable about my golf swing, and there's just some things that weren't working for me. I wasn't making it as consistent as I'd like it to be. And ultimately, when you don't have that full control, like maybe John Rahm did, in order for him to win, you're hoping for good luck. You're definitely hoping for some good luck. And I didn't get it. But that's what keeps us moving forward, is that ability to control the golf ball. You're always trying to control your situation as much as possible, knowing that when you don't have control, it's going to be left up to luck a little bit. And you got to be okay with the consequences. Then after, you go back and you work through you go to do a deep dive of why it didn't work well. And I think that's personally what I do so well, is I learn more from my failures than I do my successes.
100%.
And that's what, I mean, you do. That's just the truth. And you have to sit back. You have to have a good team around you to go, okay, how can we move forward? How can we press on in the best way possible? And sometimes the people that I'm personally the hardest on are the people that are closest around me, because I know that they care about me and want me to be the best. And I think that, that's the tough part sometimes for a team, is they don't realize that they think that you're, getting down on them. But I'm like, no, I need that help. I need people to help lift me up again, because I'm putting myself out there, and everybody's giving you stuff saying this, that, you did this, you did that. This is, you should have done it this way. This is the way it should have been, whatever. And you got to have somebody behind you that can help you move forward in a good way that is right.
100%. Now, you said something that really interested me. You said like the golf swing, it wasn't feeling right. So even you, like, because that's how I feel all the fucking time, right? I mean, I get up there and sometimes it's all like relative. Like, I play pretty well. I shoot like in the high 80s, okay? Right? And I'm the worst putter in the world. So I just learned how to putt. Like, I am the worst I can miss it if I'm 2 feet away, it's like 50-50 for me. If I hit the ball, no, it's not bad. I'm that bad at the putting green, right?
That's okay though. I mean, there's only improvement from there.
Exactly, right? But I get up, I will consistently hit the ball 250 down the middle, like off the tee. Yeah. I'm very good off the tee, and I'm pretty good with my irons and my fairway. I have a decent game. I just, up close, I'm not that good at all, right? And but here's the thing: you said that the club, he was feeling weird, or you swing. Yeah. So why is that? Like, 'cause I play tennis and I never get that. Like when I'm playing tennis, my swing is locked in, and I have good days and bad days, but it doesn't feel like the racket's an anchor in my hand. Like sometimes the golf club, it just doesn't feel right. Like, do you actually feel that? Like it just doesn't, like it's not making sense to you, or something? The physics of it all is not making sense, or it just feels off for some reason?
Tennis, you can lock yourself in a lot easier. You go into internal rotation, you're rising up on it, doing more of like wrist, internal, back wrist, you can hold it, right? Well, with golf, you're not doing that. You're going through this whole range of motion with your wrists. And sometimes if you're not timing it up correctly, or if you have something that's misaligned, your brain is going, I don't feel comfortable. I don't know why this isn't working. There's something wrong here. And that's what leads to that uncomfortability. And, for me, I'm always trying to go back to how can I stabilize it? How can I lock it in just like a tennis forehand? But yes, 100%. Everybody out there on tour feels, weird sometimes.
They stand up and they just don't feel right when they get over the ball, right?
Correct.
Everybody.
You're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going on. It's weird.
Now, before I know you have your whole own system with clubs, which I'm really intrigued by the way, because it makes so much. When my son was telling me, my son's a huge fan, you massive fan, right? He knows everything about your clubs, the physics, right? And he's like, he's explaining it all to me. And listen, I have a degree in biochemistry. I'm really into science and physics and math, right? I love that stuff, and it all made a lot of sense to me because it kind of seemed counterintuitive. Why is every shaft a different length, and because theoretically you could compensate for distance by having, but you could keep the shafts constant and the loft different, right? They're just two variables. Right. So it was really interesting that it was done the way it was done. Sometimes you just don't question it because I'm not good enough to question it, but you obviously are, and you know both science and golf, and you went and redesigned your clubs. So. Right. I want to just understand a couple of things. Let's get into that right now. So you basically don't play the normal set of golf clubs, right? You just redesign your own clubs. Explain exactly how that started and what you do.
Yeah, so great question. I was back in high school, junior year of high school, and I was trying to find a distinct advantage. I wasn't great as a kid growing up. meaning from the game of golf. I wasn't that awesome. I won a few tournaments, but wasn't the best by any means in the state. And I was really trying to find a distinct advantage that could escalate me to another level really quickly without practicing 8 hours a day every single day, right? And so I was thinking to myself, how could I make the clubs easier to swing to where I would have, a fewer amount of golf swings to gain the most amount of improvement. And so just becoming more efficient. And I was swinging on this video system. And this one plane, there's this one plane system that I was looking at, and I'm like, that's interesting. It's from The Golfing Machine. That's a book written by Homer Kelly back in 1969. A lot of physics in there. Pretty interesting book. Very, very difficult to read. I didn't understand it for the first 3 times going through it. But anyway, I got through it, and I started reading about the zero shift, where you swing on the same plane.
As opposed to coming in high and then shallowing out, meaning as opposed to
yeah. The club is traveling on one exact plane. I swing a little differently now than I did then, learning that zero shifting plane. But that's a whole different story. I mean, these one length clubs you can use with any golf swing anywhere you want. So what I thought of was like, okay, I'm with a wedge, I'm bending over super close, and then with a driver or even just a 4-iron, I'm a lot more upright. So that's a lot of body motion to account for when you're just learning to golf or trying to get better. So I said to myself, what if I could make all the clubs the same length? And my coach at the time, Mike Shy, goes, well, that's an interesting question. It's an easy question to ask, but a very difficult one to answer, because there's these other clubs done back in the day. This was in the 90s by Tommy Armour, and it bankrupted them. Literally bankrupt the company by them trying to do this. And it's called the EQLs. The EQLs is just one length sort of thing. And
equals.
I said, let's just give it a try. Let's go do it. So $200 in 3M rolling wheels, the grinding wheels, and $200 later in lead tape, and $500 in shabs. I came up with a one length set of golf clubs. They were literally the backs of the metal on the pitching wedge, 9-iron, 8-iron, 7-iron were just dug out. It looked like a shark had taken out the back of the iron to get the weight to where it needed to be for 7-iron head weight. And so again, we made every shaft a 7-iron length. The way I decided that was because my favorite club was a 7-iron. I said, all right, let's just build it around a 7-iron. And it happened to work really well because the pitching wedge we could lengthen, we could take weight out, and then the 4-iron we could shorten, add weight to the head. So they could all feel like a 7-iron. Because obviously a 4-iron is lighter weight, longer shaft. It feels the same, but it's a lighter head and it's a longer club.
I love it.
So swing weight, it feels the same, but it is different, and it's different length. You got to adjust for it. So I cut the 4-iron down, added length to the pitching wedge, adjusted all the lofts to where they were normal lofts, right? So they flew the exact same distance as a variable length set. They did not go any different. Nothing changed. But I wanted to test it. I said, okay, let's go test it. And so, 2 weeks later, we build this set. I go out to the first hole at Riverbend Golf Club. It's now called Dragonfly in Madera, California. And I start hitting an 8-iron from 160 yards. That's how far I hit it at the time. And the 8-iron flew 160. I was like, okay, that's promising. That's cool. That kind of works. It's a longer club, but it only still flew 160. I went to the next hole. I had 205 yards in, and this 5-iron felt super short. I was like, man, this is weird. I don't know about this. And I hit it, I striped it, and it went all the way 210 yards right next to the flag, landing right next to the flag. And I went, oh my gosh, this actually works. I said, this could change the game. I turned to my coach and said that. And he was like, yeah, I mean, if you're comfortable doing this, I don't even know how to begin to get you comfortable with it. And I said, I don't care. I'm going to do it. I figured something out and I want to do it. So I became persistent in that pursuit of, building one leg sets and having it work for me. And ultimately my practice got a lot easier. I started practicing my 5-iron. It'd feel like a pitching wedge and vice versa. So whenever I was practicing an iron shot, I'd take care of all the other irons. And I do today too. I mean, I barely practice different irons and whatnot. It's not difficult to me. It doesn't feel any different.
It's fucking brilliant when you think about it. It makes sense. Like, it makes sense. What's the downside though? What would the detractors say? What would someone that didn't like it say? Yeah,
so the wedges can get quite difficult to use right off the first hand. You're practicing it for a little bit. You're going to chunk some. You're going to blade some. You're just not comfortable because it's like, whoa, it's a wedge. It should be short. But if somebody's never played the game, they don't know anything different, and they're like, whoa, this isn't that bad. Then you give them a variable length set, and they're like, what is this? Why are the clubs different? So it's a mind shift that has to occur. And what's going to happen, I think it's going to be a generational shift. You're going to see a lot more players that are younger kids that are learning to play it this way.
Go back for a second. So let's explain this, because I'll do anything to get my game to play better. Because it's true. Like you get up to a 4. It's a different length. It's a different stance. It's like it's a lot more to learn. So you can't master, like what you're saying is you're mastering sort of one sort of way of swinging at the ball with one sort of, and so intuitively it just makes a lot of sense. So the shaft on the wedge is longer than it should be. But what is different then? But the loft is what, higher?
The loft is the same. The loft is totally the same as a normal 58 degree.
Then why would it not go further? Why would it not go further if the shaft is longer?
Because they're in the equation of force or kinetic energy. Mass is in the equation. So if you take out mass, you take out force.
I got it. So if you make the head lighter, okay. Correct. And the shaft longer, it's the same thing.
You're going to change acceleration. You're going to change velocity. Exactly.
Sure.
Yeah. So now it's not perfect. At low speeds, this works. At low speeds, because velocity or acceleration it's a squared term. So essentially, the faster you swing it, the more exponential it gets, right?
Right.
And so it's not perfectly linear where.
But it would be a constant but it would be a constant for every golfer themselves. You got a custom-made set. You could customize it to your own swing speed and make it perfect.
For sure, yeah, absolutely. And I'd say that at the swing speeds we swing at, that exchange is relatively similar. So that's why it works. If you're driving a car, or if you're moving at 1,000 miles an hour, it doesn't work.
Sure.
It stops working.
So if I'm standing up to a pitching wedge, right? Now I hit a pitching wedge 125, right? I think it's pretty good, right? At wedge 125, right? So what am I going to feel like? You think it's an easier shot, or is no different? Like, is it hard? Does it make the long irons easier and the short irons more challenging, or no? There is no difference like that.
Yeah, it really depends on the person, but most people will say the wedges are a little more difficult, but the long irons are super easy. So you are correct in saying that. That is the consensus, but that's people that have already played the game. You give a set to somebody that's just starting, they don't know the difference. And they're like, this is all great. This is awesome. You go to give them a variable length set, they're like, this doesn't make any sense. And the short wedges, they're like, I can't feel it. I don't know. It's really interesting. It's a very interesting social study, to be honest with you.
No, it's when I heard this, I was like, wow. I was like, because you don't see a lot of things. Like I remember the big thing when I was first starting to play was like the big Bertha, like the bigger head was like, oh my God, it's the big. People saying, oh, it's illegal, it's a cheat. It's like, fuck that. I mean, come on. If it makes you better, if it makes the average golfer play better, then it should be allowed because it makes more people enjoy the sport, right? Like I mean, like wooden tennis rackets. Like like if any off-center hit, it made average players play really well, and people that suck at play have a fun playing the sport. You know what I'm saying? So it makes it easier to learn. It's great for the sport, right? So did you get a lot of blowback on tour though? You must, I assume, like anytime you attack any established way of thinking, you're like the Galileo of golf in some way. Like they want to persecute you for thinking new, right? Did you have any of that on the tour?
I mean, they're definitely. I think they're trying to ban greens books for next year. The contour maps that I use on tour.
Oh yeah, well, explain that now. What's that exactly?
So greens books were invented in the early 2000s through laser scanning. So it's
you're a maniac, by the way. You're like a total fucking mad scientist, right? Do you just like sit up thinking about this shit at night? Like, okay, what can I do that's within the rules, but how do I get any advantage I can with it, right?
I sit back and think a lot. I'll tell you that. There's no doubt about it. I try and play 3D chess. That's what I try and do.
Explain the greens map. Explain it to everybody.
So the greens maps are a topographical map. Essentially, it's a contour map of the green, just like they do in geological surveys of mountains and whatnot. It's kind of the same thing, but for greens. And you can get it to a really, really precise measurement, within 0.5%, which is less than half a degree. So it's very, very sensitive instrument. And so we can see what way the golf ball is going to break on a green based on where the pin location is and your golf ball is. And so it gives you a good understanding of where it is. Now, not everybody knows how to utilize that information because it's very, very mobile. How do I say it? It's not planar. I don't know if you know what planar is, like a perfectly pitched roof, right? It's not a perfectly pitched roof. You got a bunch of mounds and whatnot. So you're going to have,
right. Yeah.
You're going to have to do a lot of mental, work in your head to figure out, okay, going over this, going over that, going over this. And a lot of the guys on tour just don't see it as a tool for them to use because they don't know how to use it. And for me, I've used it to the max advantage, and it's helped me do really well. Now, can I putt without it? Absolutely. No doubt about it. But again, they're just changing the ways because of what I did, unfortunately. And, it's one of those things that as time goes on, I'm sure there's going to be more stuff. They banned using mechanical compasses. For me, I was actually locating hole locations from sprinkler heads using a mechanical compass. I don't know if you know, like the things that sailors use where you put it on a point and then you draw that or whatever.
Yeah. So what are you doing?
I was on green. So it's on the greens books. There's a sprinkler head next to the green. And so you walk the sprinkler head off to the pin location, right? Because they didn't give us precise pin locations. The pin locations were sometimes off by 1.5 yards, 2 yards. So that affected how you read the contour maps. So it's like, I need precise pin locations. How am I going to do this? And I said, all right, let's go to the greens. What's always around the greens? Well, sprinkler heads, and they have those on the contour maps. I was like, let's just locate it. You can do 2 sprinkler heads, 3 to be actually exactly precise, but let's just do 2 sprinkler heads. My caddy would walk one off, I'd walk one off, and it'd be 5 paces. I'd lock it into a 5-pace, grid on that contour map, and I'd just arc it over, and where the 2 lines connected, that's where the pin location was. So, that's just X marks the spot. And I would find it perfectly and precisely, and it helped me read greens really well. And they said, that's not an integral part of the golf course. You can't use mechanical things outside the integral part of the game. And I'm like, I can use my pencil to do the same thing. What are we talking about? And they just don't want it. They don't want anything. Unfortunately, they want to keep the game the way it was 100 years ago. That's not true. You can't. You can't play with hickory stabs anymore. We've already advanced our technology so fast, and they couldn't make rules quick enough to do it. And the problem is that they're looking at keeping the integrity of the game, and they're not looking at growing the game. There's a big difference.
I think integrity is more like everyone having access to the same tools and rules, right? That's integrity versus, like those. I think, what it reminds me of in some way? It's like your own version of Moneyball. It's like what Moneyball
100%.
did for baseball is you're taking a very, arithmetic sort of, advanced approach using, the science of like statistics and stuff to figure stuff out to give you a statistical edge. And, and I don't see why that's illegal. What about your putting stance? Did they also outlaw your putting stance as well?
So I was doing something called face on for a while, which is where you stand on the side, you putt from the side. And then, they didn't really ban it, but they just made it very difficult for me to use.
How'd they do that? How did they make it difficult for you to use?
So they didn't like the way the putter looked. So it's up to the USGA's discretion to, look at a putter and go, we don't think it should look that way. So it may be deemed illegal if you use it. So, during the middle of the round, they go, hey, what you're using is not good. We're going to have to DQ you, essentially. And so it's like, I can't take that risk, right? So, we worked with them. We said, hey, how can we make it look better? We went through numerous amounts of data points to say, look, this is legal. This is totally legal under the rule book that you have. And they're like, we just don't like the way it looks. And, they came up with certain numerous rules in the putter head that made it very difficult for me to utilize this method. And consequently, I just said, you know what, I'm just going to go to a different method that works for me just as well. And I found, Matt Kuchar's arm lock style to work really, really well. And then there's a lot of people.
You're like stiff arm, right? You're really locking it in.
I'm trying to be like a robot. I'm trying to be literally like a robot. So, I was looking at this mechanical putting robot one day and I was like, why can't I just do that? That's super repeatable, super simple. And sure enough, that's what I mimicked.
Is there really a difference in the top 20 or 30 golfers out there in talent, or is everybody just amazing and it's whoever can has the most concentration or the best strategy, or what level of it is just ball striking ability and what level of it is mental ability?
I would say the top 100 in the world pretty much have the same relative ability. It's more the pressure that gets to them that they can't consistently perform. It affects their golf swing to a level where they become inconsistent, not as consistent as the top players. They become more sensitive to error, essentially. And I would say the top 10 players are pretty much the top 10 players.
All right, guys, today I want to talk about something important to me, and this is true when you hear it. If you've been following me for a while, you know I love to help people reach success and fulfillment, right? Some of you need to hear this. The only thing standing between you and your goals is the bullshit story you keep telling yourself as to why you can't achieve it. And for some of you, and this was me at one point, by the way, and you all know this is true, what's standing your inevitable path to success is substance abuse. Trust me, I know it's hard. Making a commitment to sobriety shouldn't have to mean sacrificing the comfortable lifestyle you've come to know. Why not experience the best of both worlds? If you're ready to take part in a world-class treatment program and prefer the luxury of a beautifully appointed residential villa or a mansion in sunny South Florida, it's time to consider United Recovery Project. Through both an expansive alumni network offering support and a staff with firsthand personal experience with addiction, you'll be supported by those who know exactly what you're going through and how to best help. United Recovery Project works with most major health insurance plans and also providers to help cover the costs of your addiction treatment. So if you or your loved one is suffering from substance addiction, go to urphelp.com and begin the road to recovery today. That's urphelp.com. All right, want to grow your business, diversify your content? You're not going to find a better tool out there than Melon for your live streaming needs. Blazing fast response time, low CPU usage, all available right in your browser. Go to melonapp.com/wolf and start streaming today. When you were growing up, was there someone that you idolized? Was there someone that you looked to, like, I want to be like this golfer?
Yeah, Tiger. I mean, I wanted to be like Tiger my whole life growing up. I thought what he did was unbelievable. I thought I could kind of do it. When I was 15, I never forget, I was playing ping pong with a buddy, and I just said, for some reason, it hit me. I don't know what happened, but it was around the time I started coming up with like the one-length irons, and I was swinging a little different, but it was working really well. And I said to my buddy, I was like, I really think I'm going to do something cool in the game of golf. It was like this epiphany. It just hit me. I had chills everywhere. It was like, what the heck? And it was like at that moment, I knew I needed to do something in the game of golf. And from then on out, I just spent, my younger years working as hard as I possibly could in college, trying to be the best golfer I could possibly be and find distinct advantages that allowed me to be the best.
I assume you saw the documentary on Tiger, right?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Pretty interesting stuff, huh?
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, he honestly is a good guy. I mean, whenever I've been with him, he's been nothing but a normal human being to me. And I love it, and I've done the same for him. I don't treat him any differently than just another human being. Because he's been idolized his whole life, and I even did. But just to be a friend of his is a tremendous honor. But it's more about being a friend, just being a friend there whenever something happens. And like obviously what's happened, I've texted him and called him a few times, and just try to be there when I can. Obviously I've got a life to live and things going on. Can't talk to him every day or something like that, and nor would I want to. But it's just to be there to support, knowing that there's support behind him from different avenues. And I think Tiger is one of the greatest athletes to ever live. There's no doubt.
So in his case, like, you remember he was like 2 years old playing on Johnny Carson. So like that was like he had this sort of, is it preternatural ability? So what was your childhood like? Tell me, like, just briefly. Did you grow up in like playing all sports and happy family, average American family? What was it like? Yeah,
I mean, I was in a suburb. We weren't super rich or anything like that. We were very middle class to lower class, if anything.
What area? What part of the country?
I was born in Modesto, California. I don't know if you know where that is. That's Northern California, south of Sacramento, south of San Francisco. Age of 7, we moved. At the age of 7, I moved, and my parents moved because of work down to Fresno, Fresno, California. I lived in Clovis, actually. Went to Clovis East High School. But throughout my younger years, I started playing every single sport from a very young age. My dad gave me a golf club when I was 3. I started playing, baseball 4 or 5, doing different things. Running, I just started doing cross country at a very early age. And I just wanted to do anything and everything. Played flag football for a little bit. Really wasn't for me. That was when I was young, like 5 or 6 as well. But it really wasn't for me. And then by the age of, I think, I was in 3rd grade. I remember this. It was 3rd grade. And I got a 60-mile-an-hour pitch thrown at me because I got moved up from, the 3rd grade. Because I was really good at catching, and I was very athletic. And so they moved me up from the 3rd grade level to the 6th grade level. And this kid threw a 60-mile-an-hour pitch to me. and right next to my face. I was like, okay, that's not for me. I'm not going to do that. So I was a little wimp back then, and went over to golf. I started playing volleyball around that time when I was in elementary school. About fourth grade, I started playing volleyball. Really enjoyed that, and then soccer as well. I was a good goalie growing up. Played, on the state team, the kids state team sort of thing, whatever it is. You travel around and go to Nevada and stuff like that. But a bunch of different sports, and ultimately at the age of 9, I played my first golf tournament, and that was very nerve-wracking. But I was fortunate enough to come out on top for 9-hole round. It's so fun. I'll never forget. New kid on the block, right? And this kid, I forgot his name, but he won every single year, like 3 years in a row, right? Everybody knew he was going to win this next year. And I came and just played and had no idea what I was shooting. Really, I just hit the ball, went around, played, and I finished. And I shot 36 or whatever for 9 holes. We were obviously up tee boxes and everything like that. Right. I shot even par for 9, and it was pretty good.
Like where I tee from now as an adult, right?
and he also shot 36, and they said I cheated. They literally thought I cheated because there's no way, there's nobody else, because everybody's just shooting like 43, 44, 45. They're like, there's no way. He just comes in first tournament out, and he shoots 36. And I went to beat him. I went and beat him in a playoff. I played the first hole, made par, and he made bogey. And, it was just a weird little thing. I won that, and then I won my next junior event, the Len Ross. And from there on out, I just kind of stuck to playing tournament golf when I could, and really became serious around 13, 14. 15 is when I became dedicated.
And then, and what age did you introduce sort of the science into it? So 15, you started really playing, and up to then you were playing the traditional game, doing it the normal way, right? And correct. And when did you? And then you hit the science at what time? What age?
15. I started reading The Golf Machine. So once that happened, I literally started thinking about the game differently and how to play the game in just a different, unique way that allows me to again have a distinct advantage.
And so then you go to college. You won the NCAA, right?
Yeah.
In college.
Yeah. I went to SMU. It's funny. I always wanted to go to Stanford or UCLA, but unfortunately, they found out that I wanted to go to each school, and I was also trying weird things at the time. They're like, it's just too much. I don't want to mess with this. So they both kind of canceled their offers at the same time. Yeah.
Really?
Pretty funny story. And then I went and finished second.
It's like dating two hot girls at the same time, and they end up being friends, and they both say, fuck this guy.
Oops. Oops. So then I go off to SMU. I get a full ride to SMU from Josh Gregory, and he saw me play at the 2008 Junior World Championship. Finished second at Bo Hostel, and he was like, "Man, this kid is really good. He's not looked at. There's no real school giving him anything. I think he could be good, even though he's a little weird and different. I'm willing to take a risk. I know I can coach kids that have been different and weird before. So he took a risk, and it paid off really, really well. I actually didn't even know that Payne Stewart, that's why I wear the Hogan hat and the Payne Stewart hat on the golf course is right. For them, in honor and tribute to them. I didn't even know that Payne Stewart went there until I went on property, and in the athletic office, I saw a huge picture of him. I'm like, wait a second, he went here? And literally that moment, I knew I needed to go there.
Wow. I remember that with Payne Stewart. It was really sad with the jet. I remember that whole thing. I was watching TV when they were like trying to chase the jet down. The oxygen leaked or something. They all fell asleep. Terrible. Really fucking bad. So you graduate, right? You won the NCAA, right?
Yep, and the U.S. Amateur. Yep. So I didn't graduate, by the way. I didn't graduate. I actually left school late 2015 after I won the U.S. Am.
You're one of 3 people, right? You won 3 people that won the U.S. Open, Amateur, the NCAA, and a major, right? Correct.
That's Jack, Tiger, and I. Yeah. Only 5 people that won the NCAAs and the U.S. Amateur. Ryan Moore, Tiger, Phil Mickelson, Jack Nicklaus, and
how'd that feel, by the way? Like you're idolized Tiger, right? And then you hit this mark, right? Was it did you feel different afterwards, or was it just like you see? Like I've obviously had some big successes in my life in a different way, right? I've had DiCaprio play me in a movie, so I know what it's like. I know what it's like for things to happen where you're like, "What the fuck?" Like it's almost like, "Is this really my life?" I understand that, but for you, like, how did you feel? Like, was it like, did you feel different after, or just was like so much hard work and gone into it? It was just like it kind of like you knew it was almost inevitable at some point.
it was like water flowing down a stream. That's kind of the way I felt it happened. It was never like an immediate, there was a jump. It was more of like water flowing. Now, in regards to like being famous and stardom and everything, it jumped really quick for the U.S. Amateur. I was not prepared at all for it. That really escalated me to a whole nother level when I won those two in the same year. And, that took a little time to adjust. But for the most part, this has been a long, meandering process that has just kept evolving over the course of time and adapting over the course of time. Just every day building this wall. I call, my journey, my career, the wall, building each brick piece by piece, and not just trying to throw it together. I'm literally trying to make every single piece as perfect as I possibly can, so that you got this, beautiful end piece.
There's two things you said that's scaring the shit out of me. One, you mentioned that you I think in sixth grade, and so you were in third grade, moved up to sixth grade, and they threw a 60-mile-an-hour ball at you, and you're like, "What the fuck?" I'm supposed to do a charity event with Blake Snells, and he's supposed to throw a 95-mile-an-hour fastball at me. I'm fucking really nervous. As you were saying that, I'm like, "Holy!" You hit my right. I was like, "What the fuck?" 16? He's nervous. I'm like, this guy throws 97 miles an hour. I'm doing this thing. They want to see how fast I can hit a pitch. How fast? You play baseball, right? How fast do you think it is when you can't see the ball anymore? Is it 70, 75?
Probably around there. I mean, you're reacting to how fast the ball comes off in that immediate, like, your brain can't and your eyes can't see that ball coming in. It's more just, you're already swinging. Yeah. Good luck, man. I don't know.
It's going to be fun, right? So who is it? I mean, what about golf? This is a sensitive subject here. Like, right, golf is all about tradition, right? And I think there's no other sport quite like it, like that, where it's so stayed in tradition, right? And obviously some things are probably good about that, and there's probably some things that aren't quite as good, right? Is there some things about golf? What would you change about the way the sport is played, and just, sort of the whole, the sort of the, what is, the persona of golf, so to speak? What would you change about it? Or nothing?
I would let innovation take its place. I would let innovation keep going. There's numerous amounts of times where, governing bodies have just thwarted innovation. And it's kind of disappointing, because it's like, look, the average amateur wants to hit the ball farther. They want to hit it straighter. They want to make more putts. Why is that a bad thing? I get there's the integrity of the game and how the game was played beforehand, but you got to look at it now in this world that we're in. I mean, every single, official or governing body has an iPhone or an Android phone. I mean, we have smartphones now, and that has changed the way the landscape of our world works. Everything's going through, Zoom right now. I mean, that's the way our world is. And if you stifle it, there's going to be people that are like, "What are you doing, man? We want to keep pushing this forward. We think this is great." I think innovation is the big key, is a big thing for me.
What kind of innovations would you bring to the game if it was your call? What was like one or two big ones you'd say could really help it, in a sense, make it more? I think one thing I love, obviously, better to watch now. What you see on screen, where the ball flights are, is really much better now than it used to be. But in terms of the player experience, what do you think could be changed to make it better?
I would allow drivers to be hit as far as you possibly can. I think that's such a cool little thing that we have the ability to have a golf ball fly 450, but they won't let us use it, and we have the ability for an average amateur like yourself. You say you hit a 250, they can get a driver over 300 yards for you.
How's that? Explain that. Tell me. I want to hear.
It's the type of material that's on the face, the thickness, and it's how fast the ball can come off the face. The USGA has set a limit, and the RNA has set a limit to the COR, coefficient of restitution, how fast the ball leaves the face. The ball incoming at 100 miles an hour cannot leave the face faster than 82 miles an hour or something around that. And so you can make a ball, come in and leave out at 95 miles an hour or 99 miles an hour.
The clubs that are made now are actually absorbing some of the energy. They're not reflecting the energy back out.
It's a thicker face, so it doesn't transfer as much energy as it could. But they do that. They do that because they want the game to be played a certain way.
Right.
And that's okay. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we all play by the rules, and we got to do it. But I personally think innovation should not be stifled. So
you're saying a human being could theoretically hit a ball 450? Is that the max?
Oh, Kyle Berkshire, who's to me at least the fastest driver in the world, he could hit it over 500 yards with a driver that's illegal. 100%. It's insane. How fast he can swing the golf club, it is miraculous. And he's young and no injuries, no nothing. It's crazy.
So is one thing I want to clarify. So you put on a bunch of weight, muscle during the pandemic, right? I think 30 plus pounds of muscle, right?
Yep.
To enhance your distance and so forth, right?
Correct.
And it worked, right? You hit the ball farther now, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons why. And I've learned to swing it faster too. So there's been like a lot of speed training that's been involved. And again, I learned from Kyle, learned from Justin James, Josh Koch, a bunch of great, Martin Baumgeimer, and he's from Germany. They're all incredible athletes. These long drivers are athletes. They swing the golf club so fast. It's like, how do I explain? It's like an Olympic toss, like a javelin, or like a sledgehammer throw, or like what is that called? The
perfect kinesthetics, perfect movement, right?
Correct.
Kinetic chain. The kinetic chain is perfect, right?
Correct. Yes, they are athletes.
Isn't there a guy on tour? I think he's a Mexican or Spanish that is like 150 pounds dripping wet that drives the ball kind of like your style, and he almost hits it as far as you, but he's like a little thin guy. Who is that? Isn't that some guy on tour?
Are you talking about Abram Anser?
What's it? Joaquin something or other?
Joaquin Neiman. Joaquin Neiman. Yeah. He's Chilean. Yeah. He's a good dude. He's a lanky dude, and he can hit it forever. It's crazy.
So how does that work? Like, what is that about? A guy that, because that gives me hope, by the way. Like a guy, because I'm like 155 pounds, right? Like, how does that guy, what is it that allows, like, what is the secret to this whole thing? Because every person listening here that even has this interest in golf wants to know, how do I improve my game? Like, what is there what is the number one, I got to try these clubs. I am absolutely, can you buy the clubs? Are they for sale?
Yep, on Cobra. Cobra's
right?
website, cobra.com. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to buy these clubs today for sure. I'm absolutely buying the clubs, okay? Because I'll do anything.
How about this? I'll get you set up. I'll get you fit for a set. We'll do it right.
Let's play around together, by the way.
That'd be fun.
Seriously,
That'd be
but like, I want to tee up from the ladies' tees. No, I'm just kidding. But dude, that's embarrassing. I'm pretty good, but I have I have a problem is that I'm playing great, and then for no fucking reason, I just hit a shitty shot. Like I hit a really bad shot. And I understand. I swear I'm a lot like you. I am into mechanics. I videotape myself. In slow motion. I compare it to different swings. Right. I try to really get it right. I understand. It's very difficult though for some reason to like get this sort of the forward shaft lean. I'm really into this whole thing. The mechanics of. There's a guy who has a thing called Top Speed Golf Swing. He's like just an amateur, but he has some pretty good physical. I think he's into like the physics side of it as well. Right. Into the forward shaft lean. Why is it that most golfers are just so bad? Like when you look at the average golfer, they're really bad. I mean, they just you get to someone like hits it and it goes like an inch. Like my head of social media here. The guy comes up, he says to me, "Oh, dude, I'm a good golfer," and he pulls out this fucking club. Oh, this club I got made in Japan with special steel. They had to have a fucking export permit to get it out of Japan. I'm like, wow. And he's like really serious about it. He's got the right clothes, right? He goes, this is like, don't tell Japan, don't let anyone know because they'll be in trouble with the export permits for this special steel. And he gets up and he fucking stands up to the ball, right? Fucking takes this giant whack and goes like 3 feet, the ball. He literally goes 3 fucking feet, all right? He's like, well, I haven't played in a while. Then he goes, wait, all right, let me do it again. He takes another shot. It goes like 6 feet, right? Next one goes like 8 feet to the right. And he's a good athlete, the guy. But what is it about golf that it's just that it's like, why do people suck so much?
So there's a hand-eye coordination aspect to it. You got to be, well-versed in that. And that takes a lot of practice. A lot of practice has to occur, but it's a complex golf swing. It's a complex swing. Like it's not swinging a bat. Swinging a bat, you're just going horizontally for the most part across your body. And again, I totally get it's really difficult to hit a baseball compared to a golf ball.
No,
again, there's
I don't want to say his
it.
name. I don't embarrass his name, Anton, but I'm not going to say his name, Anton. Okay, but anyway, so it's a complex swing, right?
It's a very, very complex swing, and I would say there's a lot of alignments that have to be correct in order for the ball to be hit perfect. It's a very small golf ball with a very small face, and that combination, it needs to be within millimeters. The sensitivity to error is within millimeters. You got to be within that parameter in order to hit it good. If you're off by an inch, it's going to be a shank. It's going to be a massive toe shot.
what do you think though? Like, what do you think when let's say you and I are playing, and we have Anton is with us. Let's say we see and you see this guy, and he stands up and he swings his fucking ass off, and he just like hits it, and he tops.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
What are you thinking? You're like, holy, this for poor schnook. Like, what are you thinking? It's like,
I would say personally, take a break for 2 weeks and then quit.
It's like beyond fucking hope, right? Like,
I'm just kidding. You can work with it, but it takes a little bit. It's going to take a lot of practice to get you to learn how to hit it in the middle of the face. One of the most important things you can do is put 2 tees to the side of a golf ball and try and hit the golf club, or make sure the golf club goes through those 2 tees. Just practice it. It doesn't even have to be a golf ball there. Just you put 2 tees on the toe and the heel of the club, and you just train yourself swinging it through that area and just getting comfortable, going through that area.
You think it's the sort of game that is best, like you need to take lessons. You just cannot walk out on the course and try to play. It's like one of those things like you're much better off starting off, having a pro give you a few lessons, or taking some time on the range, right?
Yep, 100%. You have to, unfortunately. I mean, just going out there and swinging the golf club, you could literally throw the golf club a country mile. I mean, if you're not careful. I mean, you got to grip the golf club hard through impact in order for that thing not to go flinging out of your hands. So there's a lot of things you got to do, unfortunately. But if you just want to go out and have fun, I mean, Topgolf is a great way to get out there and just have some fun. It gets people involved. But I would say, again, getting a lesson is the most important thing if you're really trying to play true golf.
I brought my wife on the course. This is a fucking experience because she loves animals. She's fucking like, she sees a turtle. That's it. She's running for the turtle, and like she's in move that you're in someone's way. No, the turtle. She's more interested in the animals on the golf course. But like she's like on the course with me, right? And we're playing, and she's swinging, and she's like thankfully she will never watch this podcast. She's from Argentina, so she likes to watch stuff that's in Spanish, right? So she's not gonna hear this, but. If you're a friend of ours, don't tell her that I said this. But she actually swung and missed the putt. She missed the fucking putt. Like, she swung and missed the putt, which is not easy to do. Like, I guess what I'm saying here, because it's really important, because I think golf is something about it that's so addictive. I don't know what it is, but it's a beautiful sport. Like, it's beautiful. Like, to me, what I love about golf is there's nothing better than, like, going out on a course and just spending a few hours. It's almost like you're out there with nature. It's not like tennis. Golf brings you to beautiful places where you know what I'm saying? You get to experience this. So like, it's a great sport, but like, what's the best way for someone, an amateur, to go out and attack the sport to improve? What do you think?
Well, I think the first thing, if you want to figure out if you like it or not, is going to a place like Topgolf, or just going to a public driving range and practice, and just getting rental set and just seeing if you like it. First off, if you do like it, that's when you start to take the next steps of saying, okay, I need to probably take a lesson or two. Nothing expensive, but literally just trying to get you to understand how to grip the golf club correctly, how to hit down on it, how to really just control what's going on, so that you don't make a fool of yourself when you get out there.
Let's go back to the tour for a second. Who's your favorite person on tour? You have someone you really love on tour right now that you really respect, and you think is just awesome, that you find like you like the way they play the game, you like the way they go about it. Anyone that you really think is great, or 1 or 2 people?
I think Kevin Na is an amazing person, and Pat Perez is hilarious. I don't know if you know who they are, but they're unbelievable and super funny and great to hang out with. Kevin has been really nice to me. Pat Perez has been really nice to me, and I just love the way they play.
Anybody on the opposite you find difficult to like on the tour to play with? That's not.
I won't name names, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but there are some people. There are some people though, right?
Everybody has that. Everybody has that. Yeah.
And how is the camaraderie, Jay, like in the locker room and stuff with guys? How do you guys, like, before a tournament, is everyone like sort of, is there any like little digs going on and like mental like warfare going on between the players, or is everyone just basically to themselves, congenial, head down, or is there a little bit of like,
It's mostly head down. We're all individuals and we just kind of do our own thing. But recently there's been obviously some stuff coming up that has been kind of fun, messing around with somebody else, and one of those things that it's good banter, and I think it's fun. It's good for the game.
Right.
At the end of the day, it grows it. I think a lot of people, there's a lot more eyeballs that come onto the game of golf because of it.
Like you had McEnroe and Connors in tennis back in the day. They hated each other, and like that, and everyone loved it because it was like this rivalry, and people thrive on that stuff.
They thrive on rivalries, and I think that's a great thing. Love it.
Where do you think the future of golf is? You think like it just you think that like you think golf becomes, I mean, obviously Tiger broke down a lot of barriers, which is amazing, right? He really did. He broke down barriers. And do you see golf just, I mean, it's become, I think, really immensely popular, you know, in across the world. And do you see that trend continuing, that, you know, just keeps getting more and more mainstream?
Yeah, I hope it does. I think that's one of the things that needs to happen in order for the world. Personally, I think golf is a great game for the world to come together on. I think a lot of people can create great relationships. You can do amazing business deals through it, meet a lot of great people, meet great friends, and just a social, interactive place to enjoy the rest of your day. I think in the future of it definitely has to be creating more excitement, more buzz, people hitting it further, people shooting lower scores. That all needs to happen in order for the game to keep growing, and just putting money in the right place, giving it to junior golf associations, creating junior golf associations, creating more exposure for kids to be able, inner city kids to be able to go out and pick up a golf club. I think all that is super important. It's one of the pillars of my foundation that I, imply is that junior golf is something that helped me get to where I am in life today. And so I couldn't be here without it. So that's the future.
What about golf movies? What's your favorite golf movie?
Well, it's Happy Gilmore right now. I mean, I love it because I'm hitting it far.
How about, you know what made me think of, by the way, your system of one size? I think of Tin Cup.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
He says the seven. Remember, he says the 7 iron.
He just hit the 7-iron 100% the whole round.
He says the whole thing is of everything. Sometimes I toe this one, I pull this one, I snap hook that one, but I never miss with my 7-iron.
Correct. He snapped all his golf clubs except his 7-iron. He pulled it out of the bag like his Excalibur.
How about Caddyshack? Did you like? I mean, it's like
I watch it all the time. I love it. I love Caddyshack. Man, if I was to go back and be a part of that movie, I would love to have been Rodney Dangerfield. I think that would have been, or even Bill Murray. I mean, those two guys.
It's more like me, but it's what I'm like when I go to a golf course. It's like a circus attraction.
Oh, well, no, I mean, it's a great movie. I think that everybody, if you haven't watched Caddyshack, you got to watch it at least once.
The best. Yeah, it's amazing. So lastly, before we go, what's your goals for the, do you have anything set up for like next year? What are you thinking about?
I qualified for the Olympics this year, which was my lifelong dream to be an Olympian, which is really cool. I won a major championship last year. I feel like I'm on a great track. I won Arnold Palmer this year, which is an invitational. Very, very honored to do that. Goals for the future. Again, it's going to be trying to win as many tournaments as I possibly can and major championships. I really want to accumulate a good collection of major championships. I want to get that green jacket. That's the one that is really still on my mind and continues to be on my mind. Playing in President's Cup teams, Ryder Cup teams, and the ultimate goal for me is to grow the game of golf. That's really what I want to do, and create more opportunities for kids and people to learn about life through the game of golf. I think that's something that I'm really passionate about and will continue to be passionate about throughout the rest of my life.
Awesome. Dude, you're amazing. You're an inspiration. Let's definitely go out and play together. I mean, I'd love to. I want to get these clubs, these Cobra clubs, because I'm into it. Like, I have a driving range in my backyard actually here. Like, I don't actually have I live in Beverly Hills, and I have like a mountain, right, like behind my house. And I have it set up so I have this like a driving mat, and I have these softer balls that I can hit it. So if I happen to shank one into a window, it's not going to break my window. And then I hit them into the thing, and they roll back down the hill. And then I just and I have a Labrador that is my Labrador is your biggest fan. My Labrador watches golf for 3 hours a day. I'm not even kidding. My Labrador sits there when golf is on. He watches the screen, like, doesn't move. And when the ball like rolls, he's like, when the ball goes, what the fuck happened to the ball? He's like obsessed because he watches me hit golf balls and he chases the balls and bring them back.
Yeah,
he loves golf.
That's awesome.
But dude, we got to play one day for sure, 100%.
For sure, I'm down.
All right, buddy. Thanks for coming on. You're amazing.
Thanks,
everybody, Bryson DeChambeau, my money's on you, pal. You're awesome. Thanks.
Good man. Appreciate it.
Take care.